couple of quick housekeeping notes. Please keep your video turned off as well as your mic muted. If you have any questions, on the bottom corner, there is a chat button. Just hit that, ask your question, and we will stop to answer those questions. Today we will be covering topics which have been requested by attendees of the previous webinars, which include T4C reports, training heifers, and robot settings. Now I will turn it over to our speakers for today, Alan Mull, FMS Advisor for Penner, Alberta, and Jan Willem Youngsma, FMS Advisor for Penner, Manitoba. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Al.
There we go. Okay. Okay, thank you, Bruce. You can go to the next page there, Ashley, please. So as Bruce has been saying, we did get some requests for certain topics for this webinar. We'll start with some dashboard options, go a little bit deeper in depth on the dashboard, look at some groups, and we're going to do that later on in a few minutes on a live demo. Next page, please. We'll also deal with some reports, some specific requests from some customers that we have. Go a little bit more in depth on reports, how to make them, what you can do with them, and we'll deal a little bit with some advanced filters as well. Next one, please. So before we go live here, a couple of reports that were requested to give some more information on is the health report. And the main question is how it is calculated. And we cannot give you a direct answer on it with numbers. It's a Lely algorithm that's specific to Lely, and we cannot get into any specifics on that. We don't even know it either. What we can say though is that it works very well. We can really pick out the animals that we need to pick out. It indicates the severeness on the sensors that are applicable, so you can really see where the problem is. It calculates a sick chance from these sensors, and it gives us a really good idea which cows to look at. Next page, please. So it combines the sensor data into one value. If we see a sick chance over 10, we get a health attention. It indicates where the problem is by the several sensors that you can see. You can use it as a sorting criteria as well, so we can set up a sorting task on your farm, so we can sort out any cow that has a health attention with a sick chance over 50, for instance. Seems to work fairly well. Next page, please. Second report that we had some questions on is report 56, robot performance. What does that exactly tell us? So it mostly tells you how the robot is performing. So it looks at milk time, dead milk time, failures in connectivity, and so on. It is normal that the milk time here varies a little bit between the two quarters on the front and between the two quarters in the rear. But if it gets to be too much, there definitely are some issues. So we can look at that in the next slide. You can see here on the bottom that robot 103 has a red bar, which is an alarm. So that means that the milk time between left front and right front is starting to run out. So things to check when you see an alarm like that: air bleed holes, any of them plugged, leaking or restricted tubes, twisted tubes. Liners, are they twisted in the shell? They should be straight. Is there any cracks or cuts in the liner head up top, usually toward the end of its life? Any moisture or dirt in the pulsators or the lines, or any other technical vacuum issues or other issues that you can see? Now, once you find a problem, give the robot a bit of time to even out again. This is an average, so even if you fix the problem, this alarm will not disappear right away. It usually takes about 10 cows or so, or a good hour, 2 hours before it averages out and the alarm will disappear. Okay, next one, please. So a couple of requests for some specific reports that we had is how can I see the history of all lactations for all cows on one report? How do I decide who to call? And some requests about explanation on advanced filters as well. So let's go to the demo server and then we'll go over a few of these things. All right, can everybody see it?
Yes,
Yep.
we can.
Yeah, okay. Good, so here we have the main home screen for T4C. First we'll go a little bit over the dashboard. And to have a little bit of a clearer picture, we can go to dashboard over here. And that will get rid of most of our reports on the side. So here we see our key performance indicators, as Lely calls them, KPIs. So each dial here is called a KPI, measuring different things. You can see this dashboard per group as well. So if you want to see a dashboard for your heifers only, you can do it this way. If you want to see it for your cows only, or you can go by location as well. You can see it for one robot only, for instance. So every KPI indicates a 24-hour value and an average over the last 7 days in brackets here. And you can see what your deviation is of the last 24 hours versus your last 7 days. So here we see a deviation of 3%. We can see some flashing red lights here, so that means you should look into it. The value is off for average, so you can click on each individual dial. So let's click on the failures here, so you can see what your failures are doing per group, per location, if you click it here, or per robot as well. Now if you click on each one of these bars, you can see the last 2 weeks, what your progress is. And then on the bottom, you'll see a report that is specific to the issue that you're looking at. So we're looking at failures here right now. We clicked on the failures KPI. So here we see a report, failed milkings, and you can drill down and check for issues. And of course, this is a demo, so sometimes that doesn't always work with numbers, but hopefully you get the idea. So we also have the option here that we don't have on the main home dashboard of a KPI selection. So here you can see on the right which KPIs you have on your dashboard. And here on the left, you'll see some that are still available. So you can move them back and forth just by dragging. If you want to take one off, you drag it back. You can also use it for sorting. So if you want to sort your dashboard in a little bit more better way that you like better, you can move them up or down and sort the order of the KPIs as well. So on reports is the next one. We have 3 columns of reports. In the center, we have our Lely default reports, which are there to stay. You cannot change them. They will not disappear. You cannot delete them. On the right, you have your custom reports and your imported reports. And on the left, you have your favorites. And to move them from one side to the other, you open the report, go to settings, and add them to favorites. So that way you move any report to the left side. So there you see it now as a favorite report. Over here you see a little indicators here. These reports here with the red squares means that they are available on the X link, so the screen on your robot. And you can move them the same way to your robot as we just did with the health report. Just click X link on the settings. Here's some items you can see here. These are regular, I would call it number reports. These are more like a graph report, circles here, they're all graphs. So let's open up one report here and look at some specific settings. So some specific settings for the graphs. Here you see a button called series. So we can remove any of these lines. So if we do not want to see the rest feed, which is the yellow one in this report, we click it off. And then the rest feed is gone. So if you're looking at some specific things and you don't want to be bothered by all the other lines, you can just select which ones you want to see. We also have filters here, so we can see this report for different groups of cows as well. So if you only want to see it for our heifers, you click these off. And we only see it for our heifers. And you can do it only for your second lactation cows later lactation cows as well. So a few more settings here. Print filters. The filters are these ones here. So if you click this off, these filters will disappear. Well, you can't see them. The filters will still be there, but you can't see them. Show legend. So this is your legend right here. So if you click that off, this will all disappear. So that's a graph report. We go to a regular report. And this is a standard report from our middle column. So if we click on edit, it will not do anything. So if you do want to make any changes in these standard reports from the middle column, we need to copy them. And we have to give them a different name. So it's called copy 1, 2, 3. And then the edit button is available and we can edit. And as we talked about, we're going to add some pre-treatment time to this one. So that showed up here. Move it to where you want it to be. And apply it. And over here we see the pre-treatment time every day. Excuse me. So 45 seconds over the last 20 days, which is a little bit on the short side. So on this specific farm on the demo, they might want to look at turning on the USA treatment and work on a little bit better treatment time here. So a couple of other buttons here up top. So you print, pretty self-explanatory. Export. So if you click on that, you have a bunch of different options. So PDF and doc is basically just a copy of this specific report. You can print it out. And Excel is you can export it into Excel and then you can actually work with the numbers. There's lots of different Excel functions that you can work with. And XML Right, that one right there. This is basically used to transfer reports back and forth between people, between different farms, or between us and our customers. It basically is a framework of a report that you share, and that will work with different herds. So if I make a report here at home, I can make that, I can email it to you, you can import it into T4C, and it works on your herd. Schedule. So this one is used a lot for a fetch cow list. So you can set your schedule for printing so that it's ready there when you come in the morning and in the afternoon. And you can set your time when it's printed out. And then we have our settings again here. Okay, the next one is we have a few specific requests for some reports. So the first question we had, how can we see an overview of all lactations on all cows? So let's make a report right from scratch. There's two ways of doing things. You can either pick a report that's fairly similar and adjust it, or you can make a report from scratch. So if you make one from scratch, you go to Add Report. I'm going to give it a name. And then here we see some options on templates, and this is where a lot of guys seem to have some issues. So there's different templates for reports. We cannot make, for instance, a lot of robot information combined with a lot of cow information in certain reports. It all depends on the combination that you're looking for. So we have some cow events, some device reports that looks more at the robot itself, sampling, more on a herd basis. So the best way, if you're not sure which to pick, you just pick one and see which options you are seeing here. And then you can get a pretty good idea what's going to work and what's not going to work. So in our case, we're looking at cow lactations. So we're going to pick that one. So we're going to pick some lactation days, lactation number, and some production numbers here. So just double click on it or drag it. And I'm just going to make an example here. It doesn't mean that this is the report. You can modify it whichever way you like it yourself. So we added the fields now. So that means the information that you want to see. Now we're going to go to filters, which tells you which cows do you want to see on that specific report. So to make it a little bit shorter, we're just going to pick a few cow numbers here. I'm going to pick all the cows that are lactating. And we're going to exclude the young stock, which is basically the same filter as picking all lactating cows, but I just want to show you the without function here. And we're going to look at some history of some of the cows that we sold as well. So we're going to add those. So another question that we get lots is, what does hard criteria mean? So if we have all these criteria checked as hard criteria, any cow that's sorted out in this filter must meet all 4 criteria. If we have them unclicked, that means that all cows have to meet either this one, or that one, or that one, or that one. So by checking this, you're really restricting the number of cows that you get. It's basically an and or function, which is used a lot in computer language. So now that we have our fields ready and our filters ready, we can open the report. And something went wrong here. So here we see a whole bunch of cow numbers, which are not very good to see. So we're going to sort on cow numbers first. And if you want to do a second sort, you can hold the control button and sort this way. So now we see cow 304, first lactation. These are her numbers. 304, second lactation. These are her numbers. And so on. We see all the cows, all lactations, all production numbers. So another interesting setting that we have here is this line, which is not showing on all reports, but some of them it does. So this basically determines which tab will open once you click on a cow in this report. So if you want to see any cow's lactation curve in this instance, you can pick a cow off the report. Say we pick this one. Must be a different one. So here we see, we open this tab on our card. So here we see all the lactations from this specific cow. Let's just show a legend here. So here you see the colors for every lactation. What is cow? This is a current lactation, I believe. No, number 6. So every lactation has a little bit of different number of days, of course. And if you want to play with it here, you can change the lactation numbers here as well. If you just want to see the first 2. That's how that goes. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of a better idea on how to look back on lactations on cows. So the next request we had was a call decision report. How do I look at cows to determine which cows I should call? So I'm not going to make this one from scratch for time's sake. We just made that one up here already. So this is a report that looks, on the one side on reproduction information, some lifetime production information, and some other health. And again, you can make it whatever you want. This is just an example. Would work for some guys, it might not work for you. You might want to delete stuff or add stuff. Fairly easy to do. And again, here we have in the settings the drop-down list that opens up different tabs in the cow card once you click on an animal. Another quick tip. So here, for instance, we have a call decision report here, and you look at it and you decide this cow and that cow and that cow I want to call, and I want to route her right out, get her ready to ship. So you can route or do any action in fact from a report. So you just select the cows that you want to do an action with. You can pick the action here. In this case, we're going to route them. You can see those 3 that we picked right there, and we can route them right out if you wanted to. And this is an option that you can do at any report. All right, so the next topic is advanced filters. So if you go to any report and you try and edit them, you will see on the filter side, there's an option for a basic filter and an option for an advanced filter. So a basic filter filters out one group of cows that meets certain criteria. Now, an advanced filter, you can sort out multiple groups of cows that each have their own criteria. So we're going to have a look at these in settings. Right there. And there's a couple standard ones already. So let's have a quick peek at one of them, the repro checklist. So this is the name of the filter, repro checklist. And then here below you see different groups of cows that are in that filter. So we have all cows for preg check, all young stock for preg check, cows in lactation, not inseminated. And if you want to see what this filter looks like, you can click on this little button here. So cows for preg check is all cows 1 lactation and over that have an attention for preg check. And again, make sure that you do the AND or function correctly here. So AND, they have to meet both criteria, or they have to meet either this one or that one. It's really important. So you can also see which, I would call it a sub-filter actually, which cows or how many cows are filtered out in that specific group. So 12 cows for preg check, 22 young stock for preg check, and so on. So if you go to the bottom of this report, you can see which cows are sorted out on this filter and why they are sorted out. So you see here all the young stock for preg check and so on. Now these filters you can use to make your own reports as well. So if you want to use this filter to make a reproduction report, this is not really a report because it does not have any other data and you can't edit it. So if you want to go to your reports and make one using this filter for herd health, you can do that. So again, we go to filters, and now we're going to use the advanced filter that we just looked at, which is the repro. And now we can actually add any information that you want to see. So on the reproduction report, we're going to look at, some insemination, lactation days, heats, inseminations, Rec status, and again, just a bunch of examples that I'm showing. We're also going to give this one a name. Apply it. Guess we have to change the name. Now here we see the same cows with the reasons that are sorted out, and then here we get the additional information which you can modify to your own preference. So another use of an advanced filter is that we can use it for a routing task. So now that we made a reproduction filter or herd health filter, we can also use that for a sorting. So if you want to set up a sort for a once a week or once every 2 week herd health, and you want to sort all these cows out so that they're ready for your vet, you can do that. So we go to routing tasks on the settings. And I'm going to add a specific task. I'm going to call it herd health routing. We're going to tell where they're going to go to. So now we're going to use this filter that we just looked at as a criteria for this sort. So that's the repro checklist. So say that you have a herd health every Wednesday morning. So we're going to start on Tuesday, whatever time you want. I'm going to start at Tuesday night, just before midnight, until 7 in the morning. So by that time, hopefully all the cows have been gone through the robot at least once and been sorted out and ready for your herd health. Apply this. And then here you see the routing that we just created. You can turn it on, you can turn it off. You can see when it's active, where they are routed to, what day. So lots of different options to look at with these advanced filters. You can do a lot of stuff with it. Will take some time to do it. Sometimes it can get a little bit complicated, but we can give you a hand with that. All right, actually we can go back to the presentation now. And the next page. So the next subject we want to touch on is questions about training heifers. So a couple tips that we can share here, getting it from a lot of experienced farmers. Shave the udders, keep the tails clean and shaved. Clean your udders and teeth, make sure the udders and teeth are clean. Make sure your calving areas are dry and clean so that we don't get anything hanging on there. Feeding concentrates in a concentrate feeder such as the Cosmix is a very good idea. We have multiple units out. A lot of times we use it in dry cow pens as well to feed dry cow supplements. And it's also great for heifers to learn to feed in a box, stand in a box. And then the other option, I highly recommend it, is use the training mode on the robot. So if you can get your cows through or your heifers through the robot for a couple days before they calve. They will go in there, they get fed, the arm moves on the side, all the noises are there. Makes a huge difference in training. Okay, next one, Ashley. As soon as they calve, milk them as soon as possible after calving. Always be calm and relaxed. If you have a big fight with the heifer, just let her out, grab her back in 15-20 minutes when she's calmed down and try it again. Make sure your feed is available in the troughs. Clean the laser beforehand. And then a little tip, if you have a very dancey kicking heifer, just move the arm under, move it up so that it touches the belly and just let it sit there for a minute or two. It seems to calm them down quite a bit. Once you start connection, give it a good try, but don't fight with them too long. If it doesn't want to connect fairly quick, just do a reconnect and start over. And once we have the first milking behind us, on the second or sometimes even the third one, it is possible to turn the brushes off on a second or third milking. So if that helps you to get a couple of good connections behind your belt, that could be an option you want to look at. Next one, Ashley, please. So the first weeks after calving, very important that we get those 3 milkings in. So a lot of guys are doing some extra fetching in the middle of the day and grab some of these heifers and get them to go. If we don't do that, we often see heifers into 2 months into lactation that are barely doing 2 milkings. So it's really important to pay attention to them, get that lactation curve up, peaking good enough. So with that, I will give it over to Jan Willem.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. I would like to talk about some robot settings. I would like to go through some of the settings. I'd like to talk about settings that influence a quick, gentle, and complete milking, as can be seen here on the left. I'd like to talk a little bit about the cow entering the robot, the brushing, scanning and connecting, a little bit about the actual milking, the post-teat treatment, and the drive-out procedure. Go to the next slide, Ashley. Feeding. Quality is king. Quality. Choose a quality pellet that does not crumble quickly. Fines is something cows don't eat very well. It's also a good idea to actually run the bin outside empty. A new load will auger out from the middle of the bin. The feed that's sitting at the sides will stay there and become old and stale. And it's also important, if you're switching feed types, it's good to get that bin completely empty. The feed bowl of the robot itself, clean bowls help for a proper intake of the feed being assigned to this particular cow. We ourselves also like to eat with clean dishes, at least I do anyways. The feed calibration, that is one of these things that does not get done on a regular basis. I would recommend making this a habit. Even if it's off only a few grams per pulse, it can cause a big difference on the total amount dispensed. For example, here, if you have a cow that does 2.5 kg she gets per visit, and in this particular example, she gets 29 grams per rotation of the feed motor. So that means it's 86 turns required to dispense this amount. Now, if your calibration is off by 3 grams, then for this visit, she would be off 258 grams. Now, if you do that times about 160 milkings on a daily basis, you're off over 40 kgs. So there is definitely some dollars to be made there potentially. The next slide, Ashley. Brush height and length also. Brushing is very important in the quick, gentle, and complete process of the milking. Adjustments can be made if the brushes are not covering the desired area of the teats. The length offset, which is the Y offset, can be adjusted by changing the offset value. By increasing the value, the brush position will move more towards the back of the cow, and by decreasing it, it will go more towards the front of the cow. A nice little trick here actually to remember, negative goes to the front, where she spends your money, and the positive goes to the back end, where you harvest the Also on this display here is the X movements during a pre-treatment. Now, if you have an A5, this number can be selected to, or any number can be selected here. However, if you have an A3 or an A4, there is 4 presets available. I'll quickly go through them. Default position 1, where the rear teats will move 15 millimeters and the front teats 30. Default position 2, where the rear teats will do 60 millimeters and the front teats will also do 60. Default 3 is where the rear teats will do 30 millimeters and the front teats 60. And default 0 is no movement. It's actually important on those robots that you do not use the numbers 4 to 60, then it has no effect. And then the height offset, I will go in the next 2 slides. The brush time. The pre-treatment should be set between the 60 and 90 seconds. I think Al briefly touched on that earlier in the presentation. And a nice thing to note maybe, the brushes have mixed hair types actually. Red is a hard type and white is a soft. It's designed in a spiral shape. The reason for this is so while it's brushing, the udder is actually getting cleaned and stimulated. And by having the hard and soft, it will imitate a sucking calf. Like you can try stick your finger in there once and you should feel the suction movement that a cow does natural. Keep in mind, there is brushes out from different suppliers. They do not come with this fancy little hard and soft brushes. So it's good to mention maybe on the side. Next slide, please, Ashley. This picture shows nicely how to adjust the height offset. You want to touch gently the bottom of the udder, but certainly not push in there. This quickly becomes uncomfortable for the cow. Increasing the value of the height offset will raise the brush and decrease will lower it. Keep in mind, it takes several milkings actually to come to a good setting. Adjusting this value and watch one milking walk away is not a reliable or sufficient way of changing this setting. Next slide, Ashley. If you're dealing with dirty brushes, you can increase the spray time on the brushes. By default, this is set to 4. It's important to not go below this value, otherwise the disinfection on your brushes will not be sufficient. Now, and if you can see here, it's under settings, robot cleaning, and then brush cleaning. That's where that can be found. I'll go to the next slide, Ashley, because cleaning brushes also brings us to USA cleaning, or USA brushing, I should say. What is USA brushing? It will brush the udder like you're normally used to. It'll travel back to its home position where the brushes get rinsed with some disinfectant and then do a second round of brushing. It's actually highly recommended to turn this on. If you have dirtier udders in general, this also can help in lowering your IBC actually. On the picture here, you can see brush time 1. That is the time the disinfectant is actually being sprayed on the brushes after it comes back. And brush dry time 2 is when the brushes are spinning, but no disinfectant is applied. Here, that kind of dries the brushes out a little bit, so it's not so wet when it's coming back. And by playing with these settings, you can customize to however you like it. Then there is the option of drying the teats. Now, what the drying the teats does is it gives a shot of air at the teats to dry them up a little bit. This can be helpful in some cases where when it's attaching that the teat is a little bit wet and it actually it makes the liner slip off a little easier. So by turning that on, that could be helpful with that. Another thing about the USA brushing is that some people do not want to turn this on because they're afraid it's going to take extra box time away from them, especially if they're struggling with free time. However, we have seen actually by turning this on and by increasing the brush setting, the time you're spending extra on brushing, you will get back by an extra high milk speed. So the total box time often does not get up by that much.
Jan.
Yes.
Got a question. The US pre-treatment brushing goes higher than the first brushing? Is this normal? So
no, it should stay at the same height as far as I know. We got Gort on the line here. Because I always thought it was the same.
No, we don't have Gordon line, but
Okay. Okay. Yeah, to my knowledge, that is the same. Okay, next slide, teeth detection. The number of milkings between the cleaning of the teeth detection sensor can be adjusted. Cleaning is performed by water being sprayed at the lens. If you're thinking there's too much water being used on the laser, this is where you can reduce the amounts of cleaning. Often with that water, often the lens looks clean. However, there is often a fatty film present. If you go with your fingers over the lens, it'll quickly tell you if it's fatty or not. It is recommended to use the Lely cleaning products twice a day for this lens. Windex or any other products use ammonia and other chemicals that will deteriorate actually the laser shields and so reduce its life expectancy. It's an important little side note. Also, cleaning of the cowl position sensor or the 3D camera at the top should be done on a regular basis, especially during summer months, since the camera is a little warmer. Often it's very attractive for flies. They like to sit on there and leave a nice little deposit that often negative influences the camera's performance. So it's important to keep that clean as well. And the main goal for all these is to prevent actually the failures. And that goes to the next slide, Ashley. As you can see, this is the failures takes about 6 to 8 minutes. So if you're struggling with low free time, this is an excellent place to start and gain some extra free time.
I got another question or comment here.
Yeah.
Apparently, as Bruce told us, we were able to press start, connect, and walk away on Heifers. They said it was not working for us.
No, I know you pay me, but I am gonna disagree with you there, Bruce.
Okay, that's fine. Apparently I said this, so.
No, no, I would definitely monitor it. Yes, on the A5 you can actually hit start and it starts to connect. However, it is good to monitor the behavior of the heifer. Like Alan mentioned before, if it really looks like, okay, it's kind of struggling to attach, I would interrupt and manually take over. And if it really is not working, there's a lot of tips and tricks. I'm not sure if I can go through all of them, but I would not walk away. I would monitor it for sure and interrupt if it doesn't go well. Al, is there anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, you can leave it and walk away, and possibly eventually we'll get an attachment, but it's just causing a lot of fights and swearing farmers and this and that. So, be there, calm the heifer down. If it doesn't attach quick, I personally like to do a reconnect pretty quickly. You get kind of a feeling of the robot, like, either the robot gets it or doesn't get it. So if you see that it's struggling a bit, just do a reconnect. And you'd like to see a nice quick attachment, which is a lot easier on the animal.
Yeah, I hope that kind of answers that. Where were we now? Oh yeah. This might also be helpful maybe in the heifer training, this slide. Under the advanced settings and milk system, the airflow ignore time during a connection can be increased. So when it's trying to attach and it's just attaching and then you're like, okay, it got it, and it instantly pulls it back off, that can be rather frustrating. Now you can actually increase the time that it ignores the microphone. So especially on heifers, that might be very helpful to increase that time a little bit. That is one thing. If you own an A3 and an A4, there is different settings that can also be adjusted. You can kind of see them on the right hand of the screen. However, these settings can only be changed by a technician. So this would have to be done. It's hidden under the techie side of things. What you can do with this is you can change the default height of how the arm is actually sitting under the cow just before the attachment, but you can also change the speed that it gives itself. Like if you see there, the connection upwards time, like, so that is the total time it allows itself to complete those motions of going up and attaching. So if there is struggles there, this can be adjusted. But that is something you have to discuss with your technicians next time they're out. But there is some room to play with these settings. You want to do the next slide, Ashley?
Yeah, well,
yes.
Got a question. To clean 3D camera, maybe use the lens cleaner.
Yes, I would recommend it. However, don't go too wild on those cameras and cleaning. Like, I mean, there's cleaning and cleaning. You could just a damp cloth or something will do. Not like to spray at it or like. I mean, they are definitely sensitive to moisture. So just a damp cloth or anything like. Also use a smooth cloth. Actually, not like we had in the past where the cloth was maybe not the smoothest. And it created scratches on the screen, which is not good. So I would use a smooth cloth, and I would use lens cleaner, absolutely.
Microfiber.
Yeah.
Another question, you're going to be happy that it showed up because you just learned this just as I did. Is there a reason why trying to milk a fresh heifer for the first time, the arm tries to lift the cow for 10 seconds when scanning for teats?
Yes. I like that question. Whoever asked that, thank you. What happens is, apparently, like Lely promotes that they are milking the cow in a natural way, as close to nature as possible. So what is made into the software is, if it's finding that it's struggling to attach, the laser will keep going. However, the arm will automatically push in the cow's belly. It can be, I know I stood next to it. It can be very frustrating. You're thinking, what are you doing? How dumb can you be? But it is actually meant to be that way because in nature, and this is not my own research, this is Lely research. In nature, what happens is if a cow is kicking, the calf actually pushes up against the belly of the cow to calm her down. So the fact that that arm is actually going up is for a reason.
Okay. Another question. Can you increase the airflow ignore for a single cow on every visit that needs just a little more time to hold the rear cups on while it attaches front teats?
No, changing that setting is changing it on her or like for that device. That is not on an individual animal. That is for how the robot does on every animal that it's milking. I hope that answers that. You had any other questions yet, Bruce? Or
Not right now.
okay, I'm sure they'll come. Okay, the post-feed treatment. It's actually a very important process of the milk process. Now, the A3 nozzles, there's two different kinds of nozzles out there. The A3 came with a 60-degree cone nozzle, and the A4 and the A5 have a 30-degree cone spray nozzle. The downside of the A3 nozzle with the 60-degree cone is you need more product to get the same amount of coverage, but you're covering a larger area of the other. We have switched to A3 nozzles. We have installed them on A4s just to get a broader coverage. Like, so it can be done. The next is the pressure of the pump and the type of product are important to help achieve actually a good disinfection. Certain teat products are simply not suitable for use in robots. For Manitoba, I guess Colin should be able to tell you all about this, what products work and what products don't work. If you watch a post-treatment, make sure you see that cone effect happening. Sometimes there's a little debris in the nozzle or just a little bit dried up crap or anything, and that cone effect is gone, and it will quickly become a very ineffective spray. Ideally, what you like to see is there is a drip of iodine on the teat end when the cow is leaving the robot, actually. Go to the next slide, Ashley. Now, the laser for post-T treatment. We recommend that this setting is getting turned on. You can find that under milk procedure, post-T treatment, and then it's right at the very top. Now, on an A3 and an A4, it's a little trick. The offset value on the X, you see the offset of the X and the Y are both set to 0. Now, in most hertz, if we set the offset of the X to 10 and the offset of the Y to 15, it has a very good coverage, actually. It is better. It has a lot better performance than having them both at default 0. That's something to try out. And with this, it's the same as adjusting the brushes or any adjustments you make. Just monitor a few milkings. That way you get a bit more of a realistic picture. Go to the next slide, Ashley. And then last but not least, the drive out procedure. I would definitely recommend that this setting is on. Check it, you can find it under settings and then admit and routing post milking, drive out, shock and use. Things should be turned on to yes. And then I would reduce the time. I recommend the time to be set at 10 seconds. After that milking is done, there is no need for that cow to be hanging around. We want the next one and keep going. There is some cows that are getting pretty smart at this. They just move ahead just a little bit and they nicely stand in front of the shocker, and you still might get the call cow too long in box. Or if you look at your reports, why was the box time of this cow so high? She likely just stood in front of the shocker and was nicely hanging out there. To deal with this, we can add a second drive out wire to more towards the front of the robot, but I'm sure your technician is happy to assist you in this endeavor. Good, that is all I have here on that.
That's it for today, I guess. Any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask Jan Willem or Alan, or put them up in the chat, and we will continue to answer questions as long as there's questions going. But we will send a copy of this out to everybody again, so hopefully we recorded it. I'm sure she did.
We did.
And okay, so yes, any other questions? Just send it through. Other than that, thank you for joining, and we're looking forward to having another one next month. Don't have the topic 100% down yet, but we're getting closer. There's a question. We use Cosmix feeders for dry cows and heifers. Within the cold weather, there are some issues with airlines freezing. Can we switch them to electric or something else? I don't think so. That would be, I'm wondering if the new ones, I think they were still all air too, but I can look into that for you, Richard, and get back to you on that.
I believe we do have Rich Peters on the line as well. He may be able to shed some light on that.
They are all on air, sorry. And if you get some moisture in there or whatever, yeah, you can't go to electric. At this point, they're all made with air, sorry.
Just a comment on exporting reports that I found out. If you click or check specific cows, it only exports those. Are you there, Alan?
Yeah, I assume you mean on the reports.
I think that's what the question is, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
It'll only do, yeah, so it'll only do the ones that you check. It's not going to do them all. Okay.
We also have a question from Aaron Ramsey. It says, do you recommend having a different set of liners for heifer groups?
I'll take it. I'll do that one. That depends. Often heifers do have a smaller seed size. So yes, there is different options for heifers to get a liner that better suits their needs. The tricky part is like you would only need to have heifers on that robot in order to make that work. It's usually done on dairy XLs. It's often done that way.
Is there a setting that allows for easier attachments for heifers with deep water belly or even a reverse tilt?
Not specific settings. What you can do is move the beginning position a little bit further to the rear. The other thing that you could look at, why are my heifers having a lot of edema? So is that something that you could address with your fresh heifer ration, possibly, to reduce some of those issues?
Okay. Any other questions? I seem to have no teats found failures. I do have the new laser on an A4.
That is something I would contact your technician about, actually. Like, that is not a...
I haven't heard of that failure myself, but...
No, like what you could do, I'm not sure, is this on a specific house or like in general, or?
Yeah, that I don't know. Tom, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Certain cows, okay. If it's certain cows, I would delete their coordinates, make their coordinates unknown, and basically start with a fresh slate. That way, like, it might be that the history of the information, the arm coordinates, basically what the robot has for that cow that are off. So if you start with a clean slate, that can sometimes address these issues.
As of today, T4C doesn't store any COM information that I am aware of. That's all on the COM is all on their own web-based or cloud-based information.
Yeah, Bruce, it's Rich here. It's either on the cloud or it's on the other program which was available. I forget the name of it now, but it's not on T4C.
Okay.
There was another program that could be purchased with the COM, but they're not tied together to T4C at this point yet. The best now is just to go to the cloud.
Okay. Does reconnecting reset the coordinates? Jan, I think you were talking about deleting the coordinates and then doing the reconnecting.
Yes, like by just hitting reconnect on the arm, it does not actually delete the coordinate. You have to go in T4C under that particular cow and deletes her coordinates. Or basically, I'm not sure, Alan, can you pull up the demo server yet? Or?
Can I pull up the demo, Jarkin?
Yeah, no, I think maybe it's better if we contact Tom afterwards and go over it with him on how to delete the coordinates, maybe.
I also have I'm saying that you got to make sure if you have two robots, the angles are the same, or it won't find the teats from one to another either. You have more of those failures.
Yes, yeah. Bruce is talking about the 3D camera up top.
Another person, we have trouble with tall heifers with shallow udders, where the robot does not go up to attach once the vacuum has started. Is this, I'll let you guys answer that.
If you have an A3 or an A4, I would definitely get your technician to go to come in, and with that one particular menu that they have hidden underneath their technician key, they can change some settings to help improve with that. Oh, you have an A3. Yeah, no, that should be possible.
Yeah, there, you know, we have to be aware of that there is a certain limit though. Like if the arm hits the top, that's as high as it can go, and there is the odd heifer that we're dealing with issues like that. So it does happen, very rarely, but it does happen.
Not to be against, well, we had one farmer that had a group of just heifers, and they grew big cows, and they were just heifers in that group. So we put some washers in between the arm and the back of it to raise it, and it worked for years like that. But then we didn't know about the setting, but now with this setting, we can get a little bit higher, but that's what we did on a complete heifer group on one robot.
Yeah, just to add on that, remember, if you change that, it's going to go higher, but you may lose something on deep cows, right? Now, I don't know about the robot setting. I won't speak to that one, but with the washer, you can gain on one, but you will sacrifice at the other end. So that's why Bruce is saying a heifer group's that, then it can work much better.
Okay, it pushes her up when scanning, but not to attach yet.
It's a great comment from Anton. Maybe the heifers are too tall. Bring them to cab earlier. They're not as tall. Good comment, Anton.
Can you read the question there, Jango? Yeah, I'm just reading it. On occasion, the laser will scan and the arm will not move, but it won't. And the arm will move, but it won't attach. Is this a communication cable failing? That can be. I don't dare say that remotely without being on site, actually. I am also like, no, I don't dare answer that one. Or I dare answer it, but I'm like, I might be full of it. So. Okay, if there's no other questions popping up, then just like thank everybody for joining in. If you do have more questions, do contact your FMS people, and they will be more than glad to help you guys out. So thanks everybody for joining in. Have a great weekend. The war's supposed to warm up, so enjoy. Thank you.